Welcome to the Self-Love Model. On this podcast, we have open-hearted and honest conversations about all things self-love and the journey of self-discovery. This podcast is for those on an everlasting journey of their own evolution, and most importantly, a safe space for us to heal together. I'm your host, Sid, and welcome to your self-love session. Hello, my beautiful angelic baddies. Welcome back to another episode of the Self-Love Model. Today, it is the release of the highly anticipated episode with Amanda for her self-love session. I know it's been a long time coming. I don't even know how long this project has been in the works for now, but I want to say it's coming up probably to actually, now let's think about this. Okay, I really started planning this in the beginning of the year, and we are now in the month of June. So it's been about 6 months for this project to come into fruition. So it's been a long time coming, and just a couple things to before the episode gets started. So I didn't realize at the time of the filming, but my audio was actually messed up, unfortunately. But luckily, Amanda's audio was perfect. So I decided to keep the episode instead of redoing it because what she says in the episode is really, truly what matters. And I feel like you guys are able to still hear what I'm saying. It just kind of feels like it's really giving like her and I are on a FaceTime type of vibe, you know? So regardless of that, I hope you guys enjoy. And there was one part of the episode where Amanda and I talk about the school education system. And for some reason, throughout this episode, my brain just was not working. I was honestly a little stressed just because every time I do a guest episode, there's a lot that I have to think about. So I feel like sometimes my brain just like does not work to its full capability during the conversation. But we started talking about the school system, and I brought up like how the school system was first started, and I have it like pulled up on my computer now. But the school system like was started during the Industrial Revolution. That's when the school system was really built. The school system that we know now was built during the Industrial Revolution. So the government saw a need for mass education. So school wasn't built for obtaining knowledge. It was really built for social control and stability. Educated workers were more productive, so the schools taught obedience, time management, and respect for authority, all things that aligned with factory life. And it was also based off of the Prussian model in the early 1800s. So Prussia, modern day Germany, created one of the first fully state-run compulsory education system with standardized curriculum, state certified teachers, structured grades and levels, strict schedules, exams to measure performance. So, in short, the modern school system wasn't just about learning. It was engineered during the Industrial Revolution to create disciplined, productive, predictable workers for an industrial economy. It blended good intentions, education for all, with very practical needs, order, efficiency, labor force, and management. So that was how the school system was built, and that was what I was trying to share with Amanda, but just could not rack up the knowledge in my brain. And that is why I believe that our school system is outdated and it doesn't create for independent thinkers. All right, now back to the podcast. Enjoy, guys.
I'm going to have to like take some deep breaths.
I feel like being on a podcast is for sure like nerve-wracking, especially like now that I've had the experience of actually going on podcasts, like being on the other side, being the person and like being interviewed. I'm like, oh, I'm like nervous right now.
And because you're not leading it either. I think there's one thing when you know that you have the opportunity to be like, I'm going to pause, restart. But if someone else is leading, you don't always know if you have that opportunity or actually have the opportunity. So it's like, what I say the first round has got to count.
Right. Yeah.
And that is so much pressure.
All right, Amanda, welcome to the Self-Love Model. So happy that you are here with us today.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, so I need to tell you guys a little bit about Amanda before I have you like fully introduce yourself. So Amanda and I actually met from the gym. So you and I have known each other for a little bit now. It's been what, like?
I think we've known of each other, I would say 4 years.
4 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I ever saw you.
Yeah.
And the first time I ever came up to you, you were wearing a matching red set and you were doing seated rows and your outfit was really cute. And I walked up to you and I said, hey, I know this might be really weird, but your outfit is really cute. And that was the first time I ever spoke to you. You said thank you and that was it. But then we didn't actually speak and meet each other, I would say until about 2 years ago.
Yeah. And it's funny that you say that's our first interaction because I don't remember that. Do not remember the specific interaction with you, but I feel like I remember the red outfit that you're talking about. I feel like it was like an outfitly outfit.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't think I looked that deep. I just remember, something about me. I will remember the most random things. I'm full of random knowledge and random experiences that probably are not significant in any way, but I will hold on to it forever. So I mean, obviously,
and I love that about you.
I never knew that knowledge would ever like come out again. Yeah. But I do remember that was the first time I ever like clocked you across the room and was like, cute, need to tell her.
Oh my gosh. And I feel like red is like my favorite color too. So I like that was like your first like memory of me. But yeah, so Amanda and I have been friends. Well, we've like known of each other through our gym. But I feel like this year, I feel like it's when we really started to develop more of a friendship.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I definitely consider you one of my best friends now. So,
oh my gosh. Yeah. Crying in the club, y'all.
Seriously, and I just feel like since meeting you, like you've already really impacted my life in like a really positive way. Oh my God, guys, we might cry today.
I know. I was like, girl, we cannot get emotional. We are 2 minutes in.
I love that for us. You know,
that's okay. That's okay.
Expected. But seriously though, like since you've been in my life and since like I've developed more of a relationship with you as a friend, like you've taught me so much already. And I feel like every person that walks into our life always serves a purpose, but like you've definitely impacted my life in a positive way. And since I've started the podcast too, like you've been such a supporter and I value that so much. And I feel like that's why I really wanted you on the podcast, just because like I saw how much you were supporting me and we weren't like even that good of a friends yet. And I just feel like what you are about as a person and who you are really does align with the self-love model. And she's actually a therapist, y'all. Like everything I talk about on the podcast, like she's an expert. So it's even cooler to know that someone who is an actual therapist and this is like what you like went to school for, you know, like you support the podcast and that you resonate with it as well. So yeah, Amanda is a social worker who specializes in children's therapy. Look at me. Got that down. But she also is a model now because she also walked in Kansas City Fashion Week for the first time this past season, which we'll get to. There's a lot of topics I want to cover and I have my outline, so I'll make sure we like get to everything. Okay.
Perfect.
I really want to know, like, cause you being a therapist, I want to know more about that. Like, what's it like? Tell us a little bit about your job and what you do.
Gosh, big question. So I think I feel like I was just having this conversation with somebody yesterday. So it's very ironic. I'm kind of getting the same version of the question or having the same type of conversation because being a therapist, I think people imagine it to be really like gentle and centering, and you're fixing people and you're helping people, and it's just this really magical experience, which it is and can be all of those things. But let me just make one thing clear. Being a therapist is a thankless job. And what that means is that when you are working with somebody, when they are clearly at their lowest, and you're calling them out for their behaviors and you're gently pushing them to be different and you're asking them to talk about really hard, sad, deep things. Imagine yourself in that place. You're miserable and you're typically not very kind. And so the majority of the work is really hard and really deep and really sad. And then maybe if you're lucky in like a year, someone will say, hey, actually, that made sense. Thank you for that. And maybe they won't. And then you just kind of go on and maybe they discontinue services and they're just kind of out in the world. And you're like, wow, I hope they changed. I hope that was different. You don't get that closure really ever. The likelihood of you getting closure with anybody that you're working with to like feel like you have that lovely moment at the end where you're like, thanks, you've helped me. The percentage of the time that that happens is probably 10% of what I do. And so being a therapist is wonderful, but it's wonderfully painful. And it's really hard sharing the pain that people have experienced with then your own pain and finding space for that. But I think it's wonderful that somebody lets me go on that adventure with them.
Yeah. That you're providing that safe space for someone to feel comfortable to really open up.
Yeah. And so I think that being a therapist is fun and really hard and is an adventure every single day. And working with children is a whole different mess. But I think what I truly love about children is that there is so much resilience within a child and a relationship with somebody else. I think a tough thing about relationships with adults is that we are very quick to make up our mind about things and then never change them. But a child, I have noticed, is much more willing to repair and come back even if they're unhappy. Like I can have a child throw something in my room, say, screw you, call me racist, and storm out of my room. And then the next week, I'll go pick them up and be like, hey, are we cool to meet? And they're like, yeah, I'm fine. And then they'll just jump right back in. When my last experience with them was like screaming and running out of the room. And so it's my job to show them that even after that experience, like I'm still here and I still want to get to know you and spend time with you.
Like even the act of you still showing up for them, I feel like that has to help them a lot too.
Yes. I think that's a huge part with anybody seeking a positive relationship with somebody is like that first experience definitely is testing boundaries. And if you're unhealthy, they're going to test your boundaries a lot. And so as the therapist, you have to kind of like find out where that line is. And it never means that you don't hold people accountable. Like I always say, like accountability and kindness are two very, very, very different things. And I think that people really need to learn that difference. It's like, I will always hold you accountable for your actions, but I'm always going to like share that experience of that consequence with grace with you. So the long story short is just that being a therapist is really, really hard. And it's a lot more painful than people think it is wonderful. But within that, it's fun. I don't know. Maybe that's why I'm a little crazy, is that it's fun to me. People always say, when I was younger, they would say, oh, you know, the craziest people are the people who become therapists. And it's like, maybe, but at least I'm trying. Okay.
At least
because what are you doing? You're insulting me for trying to make the world better instead of motivating me. So maybe I'm not the crazy one here, Robbie.
Okay, so there's a lot of questions I want to ask you with everything you said. So one, do you find like being a therapist and like talking to a lot of people, like does it drain you afterwards, or do you typically feel fine?
I think it depends.
Okay.
I think it depends on where I'm at. And I think it depends on the story. I think that some things will always hit me in a place that feels really painful. And I do kind of have to take that home to work through that. But I think that when somebody who's experienced something really, really hard and they're carrying that by themselves, and maybe with me, this is the first time that they're saying it out loud, it's not my place to make that my problem. I feel like I am here to share this feeling with them. And I feel like that's a privilege.
Yeah.
And so even if something feels really hard for me, like while I'm hearing it or after the fact, like, oh my gosh, like this is really intense. I remember like, is this the first time they've said this out loud? Because if it is, I'm so proud of you. Yeah. And I'm so thankful that I get to be that person who also gets to feel really sad. And then they get to see that people can hear this and carry this and keep going. And so it gives them the opportunity to maybe feel that way about it too. Now, yes, you hear a lot of really, really devastating things, and no person isn't going to experience like secondhand trauma, which is like taking on the trauma of somebody else. It's called secondhand trauma. But if I have those days and those moments, I go home and I just work through that myself. And I just remember like I'm feeling this because someone was brave enough to share it with me. And so I can feel sad for them. But this doesn't belong to me. This belongs to us. And so I can only feel this feeling as long as my body lets me. I'm not going to choose to hold on to it. Just like I don't want them to choose to hold on to it either. If you find yourself in a place where you're really like, you'll meet therapists who are just like burnt out or like bitter. And I'm like, ooh, you're not like working through everything that you're experiencing. You have to go home and work through that. Like come back when you're ready. Like don't bring this energy around me.
Yeah, I was going to ask. So when you do find yourself like maybe a session was like really heavy, like afterwards, what do you typically like to do to like help with that, like to decompress and recharge?
Well, the gym, of course, is my number one favorite place to be. Yes. So getting a good workout in is always something that helps clear my mind. Even just going home and getting a good cry in. Like if I need to have a sad day, then I just let the evening be that way. Like something that I find to be really important is that if I am experiencing that, the only solution is to go home and feel it. I'm not going to do anything else. I'm not going to like eat my favorite foods or watch my favorite movie or go for a walk. Like sometimes I just go home and let myself cry for the whole evening. And then I just wake up and I'm like, okay, this is a new day. I think that both ways are very valuable to handle a situation of a hard day, like doing things that make you feel better. Like, you know, sometimes I will eat my favorite food or I'll watch a favorite movie, but sometimes I don't do anything necessarily quote unquote helpful. I just go home and feel fucking depressed all day.
Yeah.
And then you just wake up and you just tell yourself like, this is a new day. This is a new feeling. This is a new opportunity. And then you just move on from it. I think that if I'm feeling something that's so intense that it's affecting the rest of my psyche, that sometimes the most helpful thing for me to do is just let myself feel it. I don't need to intellectualize it. I don't need to rationalize it. I don't need to let myself know, oh, I'm feeling this way because I heard these things. I need to just be like, you're really sad and I can feel it in your body. So just be. And that's it.
That was beautiful. That was so good. I was like, wow, I feel like I needed to hear that. You actually sent me a reel about that, I think.
Yes.
Yes, I remember looking at it like, okay. Because I feel like I can get into that mindset to where I'm like, oh, I'm feeling this way. And I do allow myself to feel it, but I'm very quick to what can I do to, try and help myself because I think it's like a helpful thing. But sometimes, like you said, all you really need to do is just sit and just cry. Like, you don't have to do all these things. Like for me, I'm like, oh, maybe I need to take a bath, move this energy or something, which like I see where my intentions are with that.
Yes.
But I also like what you mean. It's like, you don't have to do all these things. Like literally all you need is just to let yourself feel it. And I feel like that's the quickest way to process something is just actually sitting with it and just feeling it.
Yeah. You've invited it into the room and you're just like sharing an evening with the feeling. And then at the end of the night, the feeling goes home and then you go to bed and then you start a new day. and it comes back when it's ready. So that's how we should treat emotions a lot of the time. And you're right, it's a little bit of both. Intellectualization, which is a mouthful to say, is a type of defense mechanism. And it's not necessarily a positive defense mechanism. It can kind of be used both ways. And what it means is we are intellectualizing our emotions. So, like you said, oh, I am feeling sad. I'm feeling sad because somebody did this earlier. It kind of triggered that feeling. Wow, that makes sense. Now I'm experiencing sadness. Okay, the next step is these 5 things help me when I'm sad. Let me do these 5 things. Okay, I've done them. I'm telling my brain that's usually what happens. And now I feel better. So now I need to feel better. La la la, you go on with your day. It's called intellectualization.
Oh my gosh, that's you. You just called me out.
I just called you out.
I feel so called out right now. Like, as you're describing that entire process, I'm like, wait a second, that's exactly what I did just a week ago. Like, when after an evening I was feeling a type of way, I was immediately in my head trying to think, like, what caused me to feel this way? Like, what about, I'm like trying to like go through all my interactions, everything. And then just like trying to figure out why I'm feeling that way. And I feel like I do that a lot. And then just trying to like journal and trying to figure that out.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do you feel like you do that because the feeling is uncomfortable? Or is it maybe because you feel like you don't have time in that moment? Or when did you notice that you started doing that? Those are kind of 2 separate questions. I'm sorry.
Okay, so that's a good question. I'm trying to think. So I had like an evening where I hung out with people, and afterwards I just felt like I just didn't feel like, I feel like something was off with me. So I think it was after that I was really trying to look within myself to figure out why I was feeling a type of way. Does that make sense? Did that answer your question at all? What was your question?
It did in a way. It's okay. I'm going to ask a follow-up question. Since you have gone through, your healing process, and you're definitely a place where you obviously, nobody's perfect, but like you are healed. Since that has happened and you've entered this new place in your life, when you do feel those harder emotions, does it feel uncomfortable?
Yes.
Why? Have you ever asked yourself that question?
No, I don't think I've asked myself that question. But I feel like I've always just associated when you feel like a negative feeling, it tends to be uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that the one thing that the world is really, really, really bad at, it's being uncomfortable. If there was one thing I could say about the whole world, we as human beings do not like being uncomfortable. And I think that fact alone is the ripple effect of the shitstorm that is like life and everyone's choices. I think that truly, I'm no theorist, but I could probably do some peer-reviewed articles and find, but I feel like the number one cause of everything and the ripple effect of everyone's life and their choices, it always starts from feeling uncomfortable. We do not like feeling uncomfortable. And I also wonder and also I know I'm asking hard questions and sometimes they can get deep. So if I'm like pushing, you let me know. Okay. But I also wonder if you started intellectualizing your feelings because you have so much knowledge now. It's very common for people with a lot of knowledge and who have done the work to then become intellectualizers because you've done all this beautiful work, in which I can have a whole separate segment about how impressed I am with you and everything that you have done. And I will, don't you fret. But I think once you have all that knowledge, it is powerful, but with power comes a cost. I think superheroes say that somewhere. And the cost sometimes is like experiencing things in the moment, And I think that when you find yourself in a moment where you are doing that and you can feel it happening, is to just like pause, like whatever you're doing, like make time to pause and call yourself out and say, ugh, I can tell that I'm trying to like make this into like a task at work. Like working through this feeling, I've turned it into a task and I'm opening file cabinets of steps of things to do and I need to just stop. And I need to just feel it.
Yeah.
And then you can go on the rest of your day. You can be sad and get everything done, truly. But maybe you need to just do everything sad for the rest of the day. It's just giving yourself that pause and being like, dang it. Inviting that feeling into the room, being like, all right, I guess we're sad today. And then going about your day feeling it, but then letting yourself know that like there will be a time that this feeling will be gone and I am okay with it being here while it is here, but I will let it go when I'm ready to let it go.
Yeah.
So you still have the power. You're still doing everything. You're just acknowledging it instead of checking it off your list by completing your tasks.
Right. No, that makes sense. Yeah. I'm like now just thinking, I'm like, man, after this conversation, I might need to have an evening with sadness or just like an emotion, you know, and just like really let myself feel it. I feel like it's been a while since I've, you know, done that. Because I feel like I probably, like you said, got really good at how do you say it?
It's a mouthful. It truly is intellectualization.
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 Yes. Intellectualization.
Yes.
Okay. I feel like I've gotten good at that. So, okay. So my other question for you was, why did you pick to be a children's therapist, like versus adult?
Because I love children. I think that I would like to believe that me now as an adult is somebody that I would have wanted as a child. And I think as someone who was always very emotional, like from the jump in life, I knew that I was very, very emotion based. And I didn't really receive a lot of that growing up. And the moment that I noticed that I needed something like that and wasn't getting it, that was really, I think, when like my sadness really like started to sink in for me. And I was just very, very aware of not feeling like I had that type of outlet. And so as I grew up, I wanted to be that for anybody and everybody. And, you know, scientifically, but just like in general, like your younger years obviously shape who you become. And so as I started going through school and knowing that this is what I wanted to do and was picking my lane, I was like, obviously working with a population that doesn't really receive a lot of services in this way, especially because, you know, I'm a millennial and there were no social workers when I was in school. We had one counselor, but the counselor was more of like an educational based counselor. Like no mental health services were really provided while we were growing up. And so as they started to become a thing, I was like, man, this is exactly the place I need to be with people who are experiencing these crazy emotions and don't know what to do with them because they're 11 years old. And I can help them with that. And so, and kids are just fun, let me tell you. I obviously understand that kids are such hard work, but what I love about children is that for the most part, they are honest. They are honest to the point to where they will hurt your feelings, but I almost can't even be mad because I know that they're telling the truth.
Yeah.
And adults don't really do that. They do a version of that and they do a version of it based off of what they can get in return. So you meet lots of people who are kind because they have to be kind, or they're kind because they want to be kind because word work, or they want something from you and this and that. And they have all these prejudgments that sometimes they don't choose to work through. So it's like all of that affects being an adult. But a kid will just look at you right in the face and be like, listen, I'm fucking pissed at you and I think that you're being a bitch. And I'll be like, thank you so much for sharing that feeling with me. I can tell that you're really upset right now. Is what you're feeling anger, or are you frustrated with me? Is there something I did? Let's talk about it. And then they will tell you exactly why they are upset. It's such a beautiful quality.
Yeah.
And I think that kids are so pegged as like these overly emotional beings who can't control anything. It's like all of those things might be true, but at least they're telling you the truth. At least they're not lying to your face or just being kind because someone told them to be kind, but they're not really doing it when they want. They're doing it begrudgingly. Kids do nothing begrudgingly. Kids do everything with exactly how they're feeling. And I respect that quality so much.
Yeah.
So that's why I chose children.
Yeah. That's awesome. And then I also really want you to share like your journey into becoming a social worker and a therapist, because I know that you've had quite a journey with that as well, and like just finding your path and what you wanted to do. So yeah, if you want to share that.
Are you asking the sense of just school wise or like life getting there? Because I feel like those are two different answers.
Yeah. Like, let's start with, I guess I want to hear like your journey to becoming a therapist. So let's start with maybe your school years. Let's start with that.
Oh, young Amanda.
Yeah.
So I am a sister of 3, so there's 4 of us. I'm the third child, but I'm considered the middle child, and I definitely have middle child energy. A lot of life felt very disconnected and separated, and emotional needs or emotional maturity in the adults in my life was not very common. And so I think that the moment that I really realized that, it really started a spiral of a lot of sadness. And I think that just came from me realizing that the needs that I needed met would never be met.
So when did you realize that?
Probably in middle school.
Okay.
I would say that probably around 11 or 12 years old, there were a few things that happened that just were very evident that my needs weren't important. And within that began just this journey of trying to understand people and understand where emotions belonged in everybody and where emotions belonged in me. And so I definitely was your typical, just like depressed, sad high schooler. And I would write like sad poems and I'd put them on my wall.
On your wall?
Yes. Yes. Anybody who knows me from growing up can attest. If you had been in my bedroom, wall to wall, it was all pictures or poems that I had written myself, and they were all probably the saddest things that you could ever read. I was obsessed with it. I obsessed over sadness. Even into my 20s, I was probably the most depressed, happy person that you had ever met. I mean, it took a very long time for me to finally work through that feeling. It wasn't until my mid-20s, but we're not there yet. So I think just as I got older and experiencing a lot of those hard feelings and not knowing where to put them, and then, you have friends and you want to be there for them in a way that you had never experienced. And so within that, I just started hearing from people, oh, you'd be a great therapist. Oh my gosh, you'd be such a great therapist one day. You should be a therapist. But another thing about me is that I have never been very smart. And I am smart now, but in no way does that mean that I am good at math, science, history, geometry, all the things that they judge you on to decide whether you're smart or not. I was never good at stuff like that. And so because of that, I was also constantly put in a box where I was dumb. So not only was I sad, but I was dumb. So when I would hear from people that I should be a therapist, I'm like, in what world could I ever be smart enough to make it that far? So when I started my journey as a college student, it took me a minute. Well, I failed a few classes, had to retake a few classes, and I changed my major a handful of times. And so by the time I made it to like my mid-20s and I was like getting it down, I was figuring it out. I was like, wait a moment, I actually this is my moment. Like I actually might be able to do this. Like nothing is in the way other than me applying for this program. And so I did, and I got in, and it was the hardest thing I'd ever done. I mean, you think that being good at talking to people will make you good automatically at becoming a therapist, but let me tell you, the science behind it is very hard. So it was a challenging 2 years, but the long story short of that is that I then became a therapist. And I just ironically hate school and chose a degree and a career path that involves education for the rest of your life. Like every 2 years, I have to complete 40 CEUs, which is like continuing education hours. And I constantly am like given books to read and all these things. You want to stay up on all of the common theories and modalities. So it's like, I came from being a kid who just could barely pass classes and was classified as dumb. And now I'm just, as long as I'm a therapist, I'm forced to go to school for the rest of my life. So it's just kind of funny how the world works out that way.
Yeah, and you're a doctor. Are you?
No.
Okay, I don't know why I thought you were a doctor.
That would be so cool. Listen, one day I'm going to put it, I've been saying this, it would be so wonderful to be Dr. Piña. How cool would that be?
Yeah.
My grandfather was a doctor, and he's the only doctor in the family. And I always said, I'm going to be a doctor just like him because I loved my grandfather. And not there yet, but maybe one. But no, I am a licensed clinical master of social work. So I have a master's degree. And then I got my first board licensed. So then you're an LMSW, which just means licensed master of social work. But then I chose to take it a step further and get clinically licensed. It's another 2 years. You sign up for supervision, you pay all this money, you take another board exam, and then you become clinically licensed. And so what that means is that if I wanted to have a private practice, just me, if I wanted to start something like that, I could do that. But you can only do things like that with that second board license. So I just wanted to cover all my bases because I didn't know where I was going to end up one day. And I got both. So I am a double board certified social work.
So have you ever thought about like in the future having your own practice?
Oh, yeah. I think it would be so cool. I think that the only thing that would stop me is that it's very tedious work and it's not consistent hours. So I think if I was to be a private practice therapist, I wouldn't want my income to need to be like the sole income of the household. I would want to be able to do it like on a part-time basis because in order to keep like 40 clients a week, 20 of them billable hours and everything would be a lot of work to like maintain like a consistent salary. I worked at a private practice for a very short period of time and I was like, wow, this is really hard. I don't know if this is for me. I'm just trying to get health insurance right now. Like I was 25, I was green, I was young. I was just like, I need the money. This is too confusing. So I think if I was to do it, I would want to only have to be working on a part-time basis. So yeah, that would be later in life. So maybe a later, maybe like in my 50s, like around then, like I could see myself transitioning into that. So I've still got a while, but maybe one day.
Yeah. Awesome. I'm always just like, I feel like I'm always just a huge advocate of people doing their own thing, you know? But I can see what you mean about like how that would be a lot. But,
yeah, I like structure. Something about me, I love a plan. I think that I have a Jenga block. One of my Jenga blocks. It's like questions I ask children. So I'm going to ask you this question.
Okay.
Do you consider yourself a leader or a follower?
A leader.
And why? Oh, you are quick. You are quick to answer. And why?
A leader because I've never been someone who fits in. Like I feel like I've never been someone who just felt like they belong somewhere. I've always felt like kind of like the person that's like the odd one out. And I feel like that's made me someone I like really think for myself. Even though I feel like Chris would actually disagree.
Oh no.
I feel like if he was in this room right now, he would have a debate with me.
He'd make a face. Chris is so big on an expression.
I feel like I see myself as a leader and I definitely want to be a leader and to have those qualities. But I feel like some of the things I do could make me a follower, I guess. Like maybe like appeasing other people or like not being able to make my own decisions sometimes and having to like look to other people. I feel like there's certain things that I still do, certain habits that could make me a follower in his opinion.
Yeah.
That's like what I'm thinking of. But I see myself as a leader.
I think when you're in the front of your brain, you're a leader, but I think that your trauma response is a follower.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. When we're at the front of our brain, which is our frontal lobe, which develops the latest in life at 25 for women, at 27 for men, that's when we are like at our best, you know? And you've discussed this on the podcast in past episodes. I've sent you messages about this. But the core of ourself, the first developed, and our fight or flight is in that brainstem. And that's where a lot of that trauma sits. It's in that fight or flight place. So if you find yourself maybe in a tricky situation or you don't know how to respond in the moment, you're going to naturally resort to that trauma response first. And if that trauma response has always been a people pleaser, that's always going to be the first response until you yank yourself back to the front of your brain and you're like, wait a second. No, that's not what I want to do. This sucks. I'm uncomfy, but this is what needs to be done.
And that's why we talked about why it's so important to like actually take a moment.
Yeah.
To before you respond instead of reacting to. Therefore, you're responding when you're taking the time to process.
Yeah,
I love the way you just like put that. You said that so fast too.
I knew it. And when I was thinking it, I was like, I'm going to drop this on her and it's going to be so good. Like sometimes you have those moments. I think all therapists feel this way.
Yeah.
I think every now and then you'll kind of hear those like key phrases or responses and you'll be like, I know exactly what to say right now and it's going to blow their mind. And I had that moment when you were talking.
When you like, yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
It was like rapid fire.
I think my answer to that question, it's good, a great answer. And I learned so much about you in that question alone. And neither of those things are bad whatsoever, but it lets me know where you're at different points within your personality, which is very commonly going to happen. And so it just lets me see into you if I'm feeling or seeing something different in your personality. I have the opportunity to acknowledge, maybe she's not in this normal place where we usually see these qualities. If I'm not seeing the qualities I usually see, then maybe she's not in the same place. Maybe I should ask deeper questions and ask her why she's not responding the way that I know that she would want to in that moment. So I then have the opportunity to connect with you. And so that's what asking that question gives me or gives anybody that you ask. My answer to the question is I'm both. I personally, I love being given a list of things to do and then doing them in order. Nothing makes me happier. I think it's a beautiful quality. I think we need people in the world to do that. I think that if we're all leaders, then nobody's helping act out these plans. And so followers are so, so important. There is 100% a place for them. I love being given a recipe and following it exactly. Will I do it wrong? Probably. I'm a very bad cook, but I like stuff like that. As a therapist, I really like knowing, I'm seeing these things. I can go to cognitive behavioral therapy. These are the 4 activities that are going to be really beneficial. Can I adapt them a little? Yes. But I love following that plan. It gives me that comfort of having something to fall back on. But in other capacities of life, I love to lead. I love being in charge of a room. I love like planning an event. I love, my friends call me the mom of the group. I love leading people around. I love leading in certain ways, but it's also 100% okay that I say, you know what? I'm going to stand behind you. You tell me exactly what to do. I support and trust you. I'm going to do that to the best of my abilities. I think both are super valuable. But me telling you that, you learn a lot about me as a person now too. And so it's a great question to ask yourself and it's a great question to ask everybody else. But there's nothing wrong with being a follower as long as you are doing it with integrity to yourself.
Yeah. That was beautiful. I like that. Now I'm like, maybe I feel like I am actually both.
Yeah.
I feel like it definitely, I agree with you too, like in different situations or just like who I'm with too. I feel like some people just naturally want to lead more and like I'm very like, I'm able to like compromise and like, just chill. And I think it just depends. But then when I feel like I need to be the person to lead, then I will too. I think it really does depend who I'm with.
And the difference between that is, are you in the front of your brain making this decision or are you in the back of your brain making this decision? Because even the way that you were explaining it, if you take the time to like read the situation and you're like, yeah, it's okay for me to step back. That's you using the front of your brain to make that decision. But if you're like, oh my gosh, this is too much, so we're just going to do this, then that's you using the back of your brain and you're not taking time to really like accept that that's the decision that you've made. And so you need to like take a step back and be like, oh, I'm just doing this because I'm probably uncomfortable right now and something's going on that I need to check in with. So it's all about where in your brain you are when you're making that decision. I talk about the brain a lot. You guys are really learning. I hope people have like pens and paper because I'm full of that.
I've already learned so much, and we're not even halfway through yet. Oh my gosh.
I know I rambled too. I'm really sorry.
No, it's okay. You're great. I love that. This is nice for me. The fact that I don't have to be the one doing the talking, this is nice. Okay, so another thing I thought, so you and I had a previous coffee meeting where I got to ask all these questions. Something that I also thought was interesting too was you telling me a story of you actually crying in class just because of how difficult. I don't know. You were just crying. You said you were wearing a hat. You were actively crying.
Yes.
Class. So I don't know. I guess tell us more about that.
It's a hard class. It was research. It was a hard class, girl.
Yeah.
In my master's program, one of the classes is you have to take, the two hardest classes I took were research and policy. And it's because they're very intellectual classes. Like my brain does not work like that. Whenever I'm forced into places where I have to be very analytical, I'm fighting for my life.
Same.
And so,
Same girl.
yeah, I purposely, when I had research, it was like one of my classes. I had it once a week. I would purposely always wear a hat to class because it would be so hard. I would just start crying in the back of the classroom. And it was not a big classroom. There was only like 12 of us. But I would purposely sit towards the back because it was so hard. It was a very hard class. I think I actually failed my midterm as well. And that was devastating because I'm like, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm good at. Once again, education is getting in the way of me knowing that I'm good at this.
Yeah.
And I did end up, figuring it out and came back and passed the class. But gosh, that class was hard. It was so hard. So I felt like every week I had to just sit in my car for 10 minutes before I walked in, and I had to sit in my car for 10 minutes after I walked out. What did I absorb anything? What just happened? Because it's just difficult class.
What
I'm not
the class?
Policy. Or not policy, research. This was a research class. So it's the difference between qualitative and quantitative work, which is see? You see?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, gosh.
Imagine that for a whole semester. That expression you just had the second I said qualitative research is exactly how I experienced those 4 months of my life. And so it's just talking about, it's peer-reviewed information. So it's good knowledge, but oh my gosh,
do you feel
is it confusing?
That class, do you feel any of it you use today in your career?
In a capacity. Yeah. I in no way am attempting to write an article myself or collect that type of data. But I think that the difference between, now this is such boring stuff, but the difference between qualitative and quantitative is qualitative is question-based research questions, and quantitative is filling out a survey. It's data. 85% answered this. And so I guess I do use qualitative data just in the sense of asking questions. That's how I could loop it together. My teacher would appreciate I'm attempting to loop it together. But other than that, no.
Okay.
I'd say so.
I can relate to you hard on the whole school thing. And I'm just impressed that you did all of that and here you are, you're licensed, you're a whole therapist and everything. But I'm school has never been my thing too. And I'm just yeah.
And it sucks that that's the only way that your intelligence is measured for the majority of your life. Listen, something about me, I could go on a soapbox for a long time. I'm keeping my volume at a calm level because this topic really can get me off the rails fast. But let me tell you, it is not fair that the world is judged for one form of learning when we are all different people and we have different ways of educating. So when we have 6 different ways to teach somebody something visually, writing it, verbally, all of these things, but then I have to take one form of standardized test to be able to show you that I understand this information. And that test is in weird mumbo jumbo jargon that's set up to confuse you while answering the question. That is not fair.
Okay, so I feel this is something you probably know. But have you heard about how and why our school system was set up?
No.
Oh my gosh.
Not at all.
Okay, so I don't remember like the exact detail, but I read in a book, and I've also heard it from different podcasts, how our school systems are set up is not like ideal at all for like our lives now. So when schools were first set up, it was actually set up for like, I don't remember if it was like for slavery system or for like, hold on. It was when industrialization and all that was happening, and they wanted, it was basically for people for like factory settings or something. I don't remember, but I have a book and I need to find it. But it's basically, they just want to train people all to think the same. Like that was literally what the school system was set up. So it's just not like, I just don't like our school system. I just think it needs to be different. But yeah, I wish I retained more of that information so I could share it better with you.
Hey, well, when you find the book, just send it my way.
Take a picture and
I would be super curious.
But it's like how school was set up, and it was for like those factory workers and stuff. So,
and now here we are forced to know the mitochondria as the powerhouse of the cell.
I feel like you kind of touch up a little bit on like your childhood, like what growing up was like for you. But would you say that's why mental health is so important to you?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would.
Because of your...
I think so. I mean, it's valuable regardless. I know lots of people who didn't experience any type of like big trauma in their childhood and still obviously understand the significance. But I think for me, it has always been such a big part of my life. And then going to school, you're kind of the first person you heal, right? So you go into school. I went into school pretty damaged. And then you start learning these things and you're like, oh my gosh, everything starts making sense. So you're the first person that you work on. You're the first person that you get to test all these things out on. At least I got to, because I definitely was feeling all of the things that we were talking about during school. And I think that when you haven't been given the opportunity to feel everything you're feeling a lot of your life, the moment you have the opportunity to, you do it. You just let it out. I think, like I said, I felt very sad as a kid, but then the moment I really was an adult and started to understand it, you just let the floodgates open. And I think that something that people don't understand about the healing process is that healing is the hardest thing that you will ever do. And people miss that. And that's where people give up. People think that healing is the face masks and the having a you day and being outside and getting, vitamin D. No, let me tell you, healing will be the hardest thing you will ever do. You will give up at least once. You'll have to hit another rock bottom, and then you will have to start again. It will be emotional. It will be the worst feeling you have ever felt. And that is why people give up, because people see all those little things and they think, I'm doing this. Why am I not fixed? It's like, honey, that's maintenance for after you've done the work. If you haven't done the work yet, this won't be helpful. You're putting Band-Aids on bullet wounds and you're expecting them to stitch you back up. You have to let yourself be torn apart into shreds. And then piece by piece, you put yourself back together. I think that I'm taking you to church right now. Listen, I think that when we allow ourselves to actually feel our feelings, that is when life begins. But the one thing about pain is that pain waits for you. It will not go away when you avoid it. It will wait for you until you are ready to let it into the room and let you feel it. And I think that's where a lot of people get lost. Life begins once you give yourself the opportunity to invite every single emotion to the table at dinner, and you let everyone have the opportunity to speak when it is their time. Letting anger speak does not ruin the dinner. It does not ruin anything. It's their opportunity to talk. And then you get to decide when it is done. Same with anything else. that is when you have true mastery over your life. It's not when you're not sad. People tell me this. I say, what are we going to do to feel better? And they're like, not be angry anymore. And I'm like, well, you've set yourself up for failure. So let me know when you fail and come back. The solution is not to be sad. The solution is not to not be angry. The solution is to know how to handle that feeling properly. It's to feel it, process it, not let it affect your relationships in your life, and then move on. That is it. All of your emotions are invited to the dinner table. They speak when it is their time, and then you silence them when it is not. And that is it. And once you've done that, you have mastery. And then you can give yourself a face mask. And then you can take yourself on a walk. Because what you're doing is taking care of all those emotions one by one. You take anger for a walk. You're still angry, but you're outside. You take sadness to the store. You're still crying in the cereal aisle, but at least you're doing something to nourish your body. That is mastery of your life. So having all of that and bringing that through a healing journey and bringing that to love all the versions of me that never experienced that, that is life. And that is power. And that is healing.
Beautifully said. You know, I feel like since we're talking about emotions so much, I keep thinking about the movie. Wow, the feeling.
Inside Out.
Yes, Inside Out. As you're talking about like all the emotions, I'm just like picturing sadness, anger, and all of them like at the dinner table.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? Inside Out is such a beautiful example of core values. And you've talked about core values a few weeks ago. And I remember being like, yes, you talked about it a few weeks ago. And then you made a comment a couple weeks later. And I was like, circle back. This is core values. Like use that word again. People need to understand this, you know? So in Inside Out 2, when anxiety joins the picture, and you know, they're like making the marbles and she's doing all these crazy things. And anxiety thinks that when this marble is going to be, or like the memory, whatever, you know, I'm calling them marbles, whatever, when that like core memory would be made, it's going to be like, I'm protecting myself, because that's what anxiety thinks it's doing the whole movie. But then when the marble is like officially like put together, it says, I'm not good enough. When that happened in the movie, I was like, this is such a beautiful way to explain negative core values. So if you have not seen Inside Out 2, watch it immediately.
Honestly, I don't know that I've seen
number 2. Cindy.
Yeah, I feel like I need
You need to.
Yeah. Or if I did, how could I forget?
You wouldn't forget.
Okay.
You wouldn't. Because you'll cry like a baby.
Yeah. Oh my
you will
God.
not forget. It is so beautifully put together.
Okay.
Anxiety enters as like one of the emotions, you know, at the table. And anxiety is doing all these things and controlling her, thinking that she's keeping her safe. Right. And core values always start with I. So it's like, I am safe, I am this, I am that, whatever. And so by the end, when that like little core value, the marble gets made, it always like says whatever it is. And so it got made and it said, I am not good enough. And then anxiety was like,
so
whoa.
Is that core value or is that core belief?
Or core belief. Okay. Sorry. Yes.
No, it's okay. Okay.
Core
so
belief.
Core belief. Okay. That's what I was thinking. Yes. But yeah, no, I remember when I like first began my journey and I talked about this on the episode, just like realizing what my core values were. I think that's like such a powerful thing. Because like what you said in the movie, it's like them realizing it's I am not good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
anxiety was all shocked by it too. Like, whoa, like you don't realize what you're doing while you're doing it.
Yeah. And one of mine was also that one of my core beliefs that I used to have was that people didn't like me, like as I am. Like I felt like I couldn't show up as myself and that people would like me. So then because of that core belief I had, I started to wear a mask. And I would basically become whoever I feel like that person wants me to be. Mm-hmm. So that became who I was for a really long time, because that was like my core belief was that I couldn't show up as who I am. And for me to be accepted and loved.
Yeah.
So then once realizing that, I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's a core belief, and then actively like working through that. And now like, that's definitely not my core belief anymore. I feel like it's like the opposite. I'm like, yeah, I'm like a cool person. Yeah. And people just love me.
Like if you don't like me, I am so sorry that you are making the wrong choice, but that's your prerogative. That's your prerogative, buddy. Yeah. Alrighty.
Yeah. So, definitely very important to like realize what those are.
Yeah, I apologize for calling it the wrong thing. Core beliefs. They are core beliefs and they always start with I.
Well, I'm glad we got that figured out, and I'm glad I asked. Okay. So with like mental health and with its importance in your life, so do you feel like have you struggled with mental health yourself?
Yes.
Yeah. Can you share more of like your journey with that?
Yeah. So I think I have kind of throughout this, and just the fact that I have experienced a lot of sadness in life. And I kind of have spent some, since you've asked me to do this, I've kind of really like grappled with what is worth sharing and what isn't.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you, there's just like a long list, you know? And I think that to honor places of like myself and other people, but also still share enough for people to understand like that it's coming from a serious place. You know, like I've kind of like picked and choosed my words, you know, carefully throughout this. But what I will say is that everything probably looked like it was okay growing up, but it definitely was not. And I think that that shocked a lot of people. And I think that a lot of people didn't see that unless you got like really close to me. And so I think a lot of my childhood friends, they can really attest to that because they experienced that firsthand. So yeah, I think I noticed that my emotional needs weren't being met around middle school. And that definitely dragged into a lot of my life into my mid 20s. And it wasn't until I went to school and started kind of teaching myself. And even after that, you're not good at it for a while. It's really hard and you still struggle at times. But it wasn't until then that I was like, okay, I can live with this. We're not causing a scene all the time. I can feel myself in the front of my brain. I'm making better decisions. I'm not like needing to lean on other people. Like a big thing was I needed external validation. And so that's one place where I can relate to the things that you have expressed in your past as well. Because I think that since I wasn't feeling that from anywhere close to me, I felt like I needed that from everybody else. And so if 10 people liked me, but one person didn't, God, I was going to get that one person to like me. I just needed it. Like I needed oxygen.
Like
it was
you get
painful.
obsessive over it. Like that's all you can think of.
Yeah.
I still struggle with it.
Yeah. I don't struggle with it anymore. Let me tell you what, I do not struggle with it at all anymore, but it was hard. It was really, really hard. But you know what I tell myself now that really helps me and that, you know, maybe could help you or anybody is like, do you like everybody?
Yeah, that's true.
No.
Yeah.
So it's okay if people don't like you because I'm not going to pretend to like everybody. Let me tell you, there are people I do not like.
Yeah. So this brings up another like topic and something I went through maybe like a couple months ago. So it's the same thing where I felt like this one person just like to not like me. And then I just found myself like obsessively thinking about this one person. I'm like, why am I thinking about this person? I don't even like this person. Like I just wanted it out of my head, but I could not get it out of my head. So you know what I did?
What? Tell me. I need to know.
I went to Chat GPT.
Oh my gosh. Oh my, you've lost the room. She's lost the crowd. No, but I need to know. Tell me now.
Okay. But I like use it as a therapist type of thing.
Wow.
So I actually basically typed out my thoughts and I like just like was very like honest and just kind of use it as like a digital journal. I basically did a digital journal onto Chat GPT and then Chat GPT like gave me some good insight. And I felt like there were already things I knew, but somehow just hearing it, I was like, yes, okay, like it made so much sense. And it was through that, like I know you said lost the room, but like
no, I'm picking fun. Hey, you're using your resources. You're being extremely resourceful, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
And like it actually helped me. And I like literally after doing that, out of my mind.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I was like, okay, cool. Now, I'm good.
Sometimes we just need like little reminders of those things. Like something I have always found very valuable. And one thing I will say is that I didn't really feel, like I said, I didn't really feel a lot of my emotional needs being met by my people immediately to me.
Mm-hmm.
But my friends always emotionally met my needs. And I am so unbelievably thankful for them. And so something that I started doing in my mid 20s that truly saved me was if I was experiencing something, a hard feeling or someone not liking me or whatever, even if I like knew I shouldn't be, I shouldn't be thinking those negative thoughts. Like, you know, all this stuff, but you can't stop it. I would kind of just like pick a friend, maybe in the moment, maybe someone I connected on this topic with. I would just pick one of my friends and I would literally just say, I'm having a down moment for whatever reason. Can you say something nice to me?
Yeah.
And I would just wait. And 10 out of 10 times, whoever I texted would send me back a beautiful, wonderful, thoughtful text message that I would read. Maybe I would cry, maybe I wouldn't. And it would just snap me out of it.
Yeah.
So it's like the same version of that. It's where it's like, it's all the things that you know, but sometimes you need to hear them again. You're doing all the work by yourself and you need that reconnection to where you're like, I know that I'm not crazy, but I need someone to be in this space with me to also remind me that I'm not.
Yeah.
And so that's what I started doing. And it feels weird at first doing something like that. Like, I would tell people and they'd be like, I would literally just text a friend and just be like, I need you to say something nice to me, please. And to be met with like no judgment, no questions asked, no disrespect, to just be met with exactly what I needed. I mean, I'm so grateful. So anyone who has sent me a text like that, just know like you are loved, you are valued, and like it was so important to me at that moment.
I think it's so beautiful that you have people like that in your life, you know, that are there for you. I feel like you have really good people in your life, but you're also a good person, so that just makes sense.
Well, that's very kind of you to say. I think I'm just a collection of all the things I've seen in other people that I liked and I chose to hold on to.
Yeah.
And so I'm only me because someone else was them and I said, hey, that was valuable. I need to learn how to do that.
Yeah.
And so you can choose to hold on to all the beautiful things instead of holding on to all the negative things that you see and you experience. Like, you meet people who's like, well, no one else is kind to me, so why should I worry about it? They didn't give me respect. Why should I give them respect back? The same way you can be like, wow, somebody once was really gentle with me and stopped and let me go first. And maybe that would be really valuable for somebody else too.
Yeah.
And so I think that, again, everyone experiences bad things. Like, I am in no way taking away from that, but like, you get to choose what you hold on to. You're the one choosing to hold on to that. And I'm just not going to do that. So I just want to be the person that I know that I would want someone to be for me. And so hopefully the people who are in my life, they see that and they find that valuable. And so they stay. And so that's why I've got some good friends, because they see that I'm out there being a good friend and I don't hang out with people who don't waste their time being genuinely kind. So thankful to all of my friends. Shout out. I love you all. You being one of them as well.
Oh.
Because I just love, here, I'm going to take this opportunity before she asks the next thing, because I need to shout out to Cindy. Because let me tell you, I feel like you just meet people and you can just tell that they are a good person and that they emit good energy and that they just deserve good things. And everyone deserves kindness. Everyone deserves a happy life, but you meet people who you're like, I need to make it my mission to make sure that this happens. And I felt that way just instantly when I met you. And I think that that's one of the reasons why I've always been very drawn to you and wanted to get to know you. Yeah. And then as I got to know you, I have so much respect for anybody who takes the time to learn about mental health, especially people not in the field. Like, I have the utmost respect. I physically couldn't have more respect for you as a human being. And I mean that deeply, because you did the damn work without the title behind your name. But like, you know the information, you knew that this was a problem, and then you went out of your way to attempt to solve it. People don't do that. And so I just have so much respect for you in that sense of mental health, while at the same time just being such an amazing human being in general and like giving that back to the world.
Thank you.
Yes.
Seriously. Yeah. Thank
so
you. That
I
means
just
a lot.
I value you so much as a human being.
Yeah. And I think like for me, like I think about stuff like that, like what's made me today. And I feel like there's two types of people. I feel like from what I've experienced not the kindest things, to me, to where I feel like I know how that feels. So I don't want anyone else to feel that way.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it's so important for me to make people feel seen and heard.
Yeah.
Because
me
I
too.
felt like growing up, that's not something I experienced. Like, I always felt invisible. I wanted to be invisible. So I feel like as an adult, that's why like it's so important for me to make people feel that way, and you're so good at that too. But yeah, so I feel like you can do it where you experience bad things and then you don't want anyone to feel that way, or you have experienced bad things and then you like kind of go down that path. I feel like that's how I see it. But yeah. And then, another thing I wanted to touch up on too was that you were talking about like the true healing, like how it's hard. I agree with you on that. Like, you were saying how a lot of times people see the surface level, like the mask, all of that. It's really just like a Band-Aid. I remember when I like first began my healing journey, and I specifically remember this is when Chris and I had just first like really ended things, and we were still living together at the time. And like, this is like, things were crazy. And I remember I was literally sleeping on the couch one night, not because he forced me or anything. I chose to. I was like, I need to sleep on the couch tonight. And I remember journaling, crying, and I like realized how much like pain and trauma I still had that I never fully worked through when I moved here, like to America. And Chris, like, just basically being with Chris, he became like my Band-Aid. He just kind of like put a Band-Aid over all my family, all my trauma that I had. And I just never dealt with it. It was under the rug until eventually when I ended things with Chris, that I was like, holy fucking shit. It was like the floodgate just opened, and I was like, oh my God. And that's kind of how everything started for me. So anyway, when you said that, I felt like I wanted to share this. But so with your healing journey, like, how did it start? Did you like find a therapist, or did you do the work on yourself too?
I did the work on myself.
Okay.
I have seen a therapist at one point. I would say, I think I was 26. I saw a therapist for a very short period of time, and then they moved. They worked at the same company that I worked for, which kind of like sounds like a dual relationship, but it was also like a part of a requirement of starting a private practice and never being at a private practice before. So she moved away, and shortly after I stopped working at the private practice as well. But I felt like that was a good amount of time for me. I haven't felt like I've needed to go back since. That I would like to believe that if I felt like I was getting to that point to where I was needing something like that, that I would. But yeah, I did a lot of the work on myself as well. And again, you're like the first person that you heal when you're going through school, because maybe in a way I had like 11 therapists when I was sitting in class and we're all like learning together, because we would all share our own personal experiences at times and just kind of bounce that off of each other. So for the most part, I would say I did the work myself as well, which again, as someone who did my best to self-heal myself, meeting another self-healer, I mean, it's a beautiful thing. So maybe I just like felt that energy of knowing, like, obviously when you have a therapist, you're still doing the work. I don't know. It's just like a different respect of like doing the research and not having anybody to hold you accountable but you. Nobody was like, hey, did you do this? Did you do that? Have you done this? Like, it was just me at the end of the day. And so again, that is a lot. Accountability is a lot for yourself. And so accountability is a form of respect to yourself.
Yes.
And I just can feel that from you. And so that was just another reason that I loved that you did it yourself as well.
Thank you.
Yes.
I know. I'm like flashing back to me, like sitting in my apartment by myself, like writing down all these notes of things that I'm learning. And I guess I just like found it super interesting once I started learning. And I would learn one thing, and I'm like a light bulb would go off.
Yeah.
And then I would learn more, and then everything would just start to make sense. So yeah.
It's beautiful connecting the pieces. And if there's one thing I love to learn about, it's the brain. Like, the brain and the body is such an interesting place. And what I love about it is that there's no right or wrong answer, really. 1,000 different things could work. It truly depends on the situation. And as someone who was never a good book learner, I was like, wow, I love that 4 different things could solve this one problem, because that's a world I can live in. I can adapt as we go. And so the brain is so interesting. That's why I like always want to like sprinkle little tidbits of talking about the front of the brain, the back, blah, 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 this and that. Cause it's like, take some time to just kind of learn about the science of the brain. It's really, really cool. Like can I share another fun fact?
Yeah.
I love teaching people about this. Crying is very normal and very healthy. So crying releases a hormone called cortisol. I'm sure we've all kind of heard about cortisol.
Stress, right?
Yes. Okay. What that does is it releases the chemical into a different part of your brain called the parasympathetic. I can't remember this nerve. I can't remember the third word. That's not as important. System. Yeah, there we go. Parasympathetic nervous system. Yeah. Some of the mumbo jumbo is still hard. But anyway, what that chemical does is it purposely slows your heart rate down. And that's usually why after you cry, you feel really tired. Yes. And so when you're fighting crying, it's your body's like at the door, like, hello, I'm trying to calm you down. You are not in line. All I have to do is turn this little thing on, couple minutes. Like, I can kind of flush you out. We can start from baseline. You won't be great, but you'll at least be like lined up. And so we fight that feeling. And so then we're just worked up. You ever notice how after you cry, you randomly just like stop crying? Your body just kind of like decides it's done. Yes. Because your body's like, we've released enough of this hormone that you're good to go now. You're not perfect, but you're at least calm. Yeah. And we're going to make you really tired and we're going to slow your heart rate down. Maybe hopefully you fall asleep, because then while you're sleeping, we can repair you. So that's why you're always just kind of like a zombie after you cry, because it's your body purposely like pretty much like putting a weighted blanket on you and forcing you to slow down so that it can do its work and repair you up there. So you slow that down when you fight the urge to cry. So fun fact about crying, it's not weak. It is your body attempting to regulate, it's a natural response. Yes, the hormones in your body. Yeah. So please, for the love of God, maybe you can't cry in the middle of a meeting, but like make time to cry.
Right now.
I mean, I don't know if you need to. Go ahead, girl.
No, I'm seriously like, I feel like I might be due for a cry sesh, actually.
Yeah.
Like, it's been a minute, so.
Not me. I cried this afternoon. Not me.
No, I
love to cry.
Same. And that's something when we first like started getting close that I feel like we bonded over. What I connected with you over was that we're both just sad girls on the inside.
Yes, and we are.
Yeah, and that's where we've talked about this, where that's like really where we're comfortable. It's like sadness, like we're very familiar with her. And sometimes like when we're happy, it's like when you're happy for too long, it starts to feel weird.
Yes. I used to say that sadness felt like coming home after a trip. Like when you're like, oh my God, I just want to like get home. At the end of the day, like I had a good time, but I just want to sleep in my bed. Sadness would feel like that.
Yeah.
You know, I would end my night with sadness. Every single night I would end with sadness. Even if I like put a smile on and went about my day, every day ended with sadness for a very, very long time. So when I finally decided that wasn't serving me anymore and it just wasn't necessary, gosh, it was like a breakup.
Yeah.
It was hard.
So you actually kind of like had a moment where you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I felt like I was done.
Yeah.
And your body, and here's the thing, like if you take the time to do this work and you are in tune with yourself, your body lets you know when you need to do everything. Like, you know, you want to like be aware and do this and that, but it's like, you really, no, make it easy. Just listen and your body tells you what to do. Like, I can't remember the exact moment, but I remember just one day being like, yeah, I don't need to feel this way. And then I stopped and that was it, because I was aware of when I felt it, it wasn't giving me the same like satisfaction or response that I would usually feel. I noticed that weird change and I was like, that's weird. I think I'm good to try something different. Tried something different, like content or happiness. And then I was like, oh yeah, this feels comfortable now. So just listen to yourself, try things out. And I think that that's really when it changes. And so now I can confidently say like I live in a place of contentment and that feels like my default and that feels very cool, but it felt really hard. And again, that's okay. There was nothing wrong with me because of that. I just was different.
Yeah.
And so, now I live in a different place and, the walls look different and there's different noises and different feelings and it's strange and you just have to like welcome that change. It's like moving into a new house,
Yeah.
That's how it feels when you choose to have a different emotion as your default. Like it doesn't feel it's not like feeling happy feels great all the time,
I agree with that. So I feel like I kind of had that same moment where you were like, I kind of like broke up with sadness. I feel like I had that moment, not really like probably the same as yours, but it was probably 2 years ago. I was still living with my friend Taylor at the time. And I remember, I think Spotify has shown me like what type of songs I listen to. And it basically said I was like a sad girl or something. And I was like, dang, it like made me realize how like all my songs and stuff that I listen to are like really sad. And I remember living with Taylor at the time too. She always listened to very upbeat, happy music. And that's when I was like, oh, like maybe I should like stop listening to sad music and try and like listen to more like upbeat and happy and really try and like embrace that state more. Because that's when I realized like why, because sadness was like so comforting to me. That's what I was naturally like drawn to. And yeah, so I feel like that was like kind of my moment where I shifted and started really being more like aware of like music choices too, because if you listen to like lyrics and songs too, I feel like you don't realize it, but it's like the lyrics, like it's actually kind of programming you.
Yeah, it can in a way. But listening to music, actually, interesting enough, is one of the only activities that can like self-induce dopamine as well, naturally and in a healthy way. So when you do listen to music that you like, I don't know like the statistics or like the theory behind whether it needs to be more positive music than negative, but just fun fact, listening to music is one of the like only like self-inducing dopamine activities. And as a fellow girl who loves to listen to sad music, I still listen to sad music all the time.
Don't get me wrong, I still listen to sad music. And I was still built out to them.
Yeah.
But just I'm going through a heartbreak.
I know. Yeah. There's just something about a Hozier song that just like fills me with so much happiness while also listening to like the most depressing song you have ever heard.
Yeah.
But I'm like, wow, I'm in a beautiful place right now while listening to it.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting what music does to us. I remember, I feel like I told you this and I sent you, I feel like this was from one of your season 1 episodes. We were talking, I know this is a reach, but I remember this. I remember we were talking about music and like sad songs, and you have like a number one sad song that you listen to. I can't remember what your song was. Do you remember? You said during this period of your life there was one song you would like.
Empty.
There we go. And you said that song was like, you listened to it recently and you were like, wow, this is like a sad song or something.
I'm in the gym doing kickbacks and listening to this song.
Yes. It's so funny. People have no idea what's in your headphones. I do the same thing. Sometimes I have days like that where I'm just like, I need to be in my feels and I'm listening to the saddest things you've ever heard. Wow. Just like lap pull downs. You know what I mean? Nobody has any idea. But I remember that song for me was The One by Taylor Swift. And I remember sending it to you. Like I listened to your song and I told you to listen to my song. And I remember I was going through a breakup and I was super, super depressed. And I would listen to that song on repeat and just let it just rip me apart, let myself just spiral. And I remember, I don't know what day it was, but I just remember one day I was driving home from work and the song came on and I just was casually singing to it. I about wanted to crash the car because I noticed about halfway through the song, I said, oh my God, I'm not sad right now. I'm just listening to the song. I'm just appreciating it. And that was the moment where I was like, we're on the up and up. We got it. It's just like, I noticed the shift to where I could just appreciate the song. Even if it was a really sad song, I caught myself just appreciating it and not letting it like rip me to shreds the way that it had in the past. And so you have moments like that.
Do you have maybe like one tip for like someone who's really learning new to like emotions and just like how to like process them? I feel like you kind of touched on it, but I want you to maybe recap or if you have a tip.
Yes. Oh gosh, what a big question. Because one size doesn't fit all, you know? I think that a good place to start, I guess like a good tip, like a good place to start is first learning about why you're doing things, why you're feeling certain ways. Like when you realize what your core beliefs are, like really, I would say my first tip is like figure those out because those are going to dictate all of your decision making and how you feel about yourself.
Yeah.
So I would say that's a good place to start. Another good tip, I'm trying to think like really general. Like it seems like an easy question, but it can be kind of a difficult question.
Yeah.
I think another tip I would have is work on your self-esteem. Self-esteem is really, really big. I heard something today on Instagram that was like, what was it? It was like your self-esteem is showing other people the way that you respect yourself.
Yeah.
And it was like something along the lines of that.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, yes, this is so good. I think actually almost like, I think I posted it to my story. It might have even, so it might be on my story right now. And when you take the time to center your self-esteem, I think that that is really where you start making different choices and you can kind of find things that work within healing that. So I don't know, that is a very big tip, but I would say like if you don't know where to start, if you know that like something's wrong and you need to find somewhere to start with your self-esteem, start with figuring out like the hard parts for you to accept or kind of the way that you talk to yourself, the way that you talk to other people in your head or out loud, like start there with all those things. And I think that that really will like lead you on a path of like discovery and like looking into all these little things.
I think that was a great tip because
okay, good.
That was so good because that's how I started my journey. Now I'm like thinking about like, yeah, that's literally how I started was by looking up self-esteem because I knew that's what I lacked. And then from there, it just taught me, led to all these other topics. So yeah, that was a great tip.
Okay, good. Gosh, I was nervous. That was the first question you had asked me that I like didn't know how to answer and that I was nervous. So yeah.
And that was straight off the dome.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I say that all the time. I've never heard you say that before, but that's so funny.
I don't say that often.
I do. So that's really funny. That's really funny that you just said that.
I'm like connected to you.
Yes, we are. We are. We're connected.
I think this is on video so you guys can see this too. We're holding hands.
I don't know if you have that on there. Did you write down our conversation about reachers and leaners? Do you remember that?
Yes, I don't have it on here, but
I know because we talked about it in the car.
I love that.
And I remember you saying, oh, I need to remember to write this down.
Yeah.
And so part of me was like, I've been like curious how you're going to ask questions. First of all, let me say, you have asked literally nothing that I have thought in my head. So I in no way have been prepared for any question you have asked me. Everything has just been off the dome.
Really?
But one of the things I was trying to like prepare on was when we talked about reachers and leaners in the car, that like little thing that I've like made up in my head. And I was curious if we would discuss it at all. So we don't have to talk about it now. We can edit all of this out if you like.
No, but honestly, like if you have any topic, feel free to like bring it up.
Well, I just remember, I just feel like it's really valuable. We brought it up because, you know, we have both experienced people in our life that we have wanted to show up more or differently in our life and they haven't. And kind of like wrestling with coming to terms with that is really difficult. And I've had this discussion with multiple friends. I truly just kind of like, I'm sure there's versions of it out there, but I've kind of like made it up, this little like saying, and I call it, everybody in your life is either a reacher or a leaner. And so a reacher is somebody who is a good person and wants to do the right thing, but they're not necessarily going out of their way outside of doing something that they know is right. So it's like a reacher is like, I'm reaching for you right now and I'm reaching for you. But like, if I can't reach you, then it's like, okay.
Right.
And the example I always give is like, if you're on the side of the road and, like the bus of life is coming towards you, like every human is going to be like, oh my gosh, no, stop, something's coming. Everyone will do that. They're reaching. But a leaner is somebody who leans in. A reacher is somebody that like makes it to you and is like here. Like if I was to change my body language and I was to like lean forward, like this would give you obviously the idea that like I'm here, I'm super present, which I still am while sitting back, but it's different. And so when you think people in your life are leaners who are always going to like pour into you, not meet you where you are, but like surpass that, then it's really, really hard. And once we realize who is a reacher and who is a leaner, we can alter our expectations. Or we can have a conversation with them and ask them to alter the way that they are loving you. Because clearly it's not meeting what you want them to. But I think that when you really figure that out from people, it also like lets you know where you need to go when you're in those moments. There's nothing wrong with either of these types of people. There's nothing wrong with reachers. Sometimes we're reachers. I have friends that I'm only reaching to because I know that it's the right thing to do. But sometimes I don't also want to go out of my way to do all of these extra things, but I'm still going to be kind and generous and aware, and that's going to be enough for them. And so hopefully that person also sees that and knows that it's still, a normal platonic relationship, but we're not going to pretend like it's more than it is.
Right.
And so when you figure out who those people are and who you are to those people, I feel like it helps alter your expectation. And it like takes away, hopefully, it helps take away disappointment. Because it's like, it doesn't mean that those things don't suck when you want someone to be more and they're not. But then you can also remind yourself like, well, I was also very aware that this is a big possibility and that they might not receive this the way that I wanted them to. And that's unfortunate. But all right, what am I going to do with this new feeling? And then you just process that and then you move on instead of being like, oh my gosh, I'm so shocked. This keeps happening. Why does this hurt like this again? I really thought they were going to get it this time. And it's because you're spending so much time leaning into this person and they are only reaching for you. So figure out who you are to people and who they are to you, and then alter expectations.
I think that's really important. And I feel like definitely like relationships has definitely always been like a huge thing for me. They say that the quality of your relationship is the quality of your life. So the better like quality of your relationships are, the better quality your life is. So I'm like, I feel like I'm right now at this stage where the older I get, the more like I really want to be intentional with my relationships and like evaluate the people in my life. Not that like I want it to be transactional or anything, but like just being really intentional about the people in my life. And like what you said, like who are reachers and who are leaners. They also say that there's different types of relationship you have in your life. And when you have those relationships where you're not sure if you guys are like really good friends or not, like you're just unsure of the relationship, keeping those relationships in your life will actually negatively affect you.
I wonder if that's because of like, it's a place of uncertainty. Like we want to feel certain about things, and that's normal. I mean, that's we're like hardwired for that. So when you keep relationships like that around, it probably takes away some of that certainty and like trust within yourself. And so if you're kind of letting this person control, like feeling this, not sure, your body's like, ooh, red flag, we're not lining up, don't trust that feeling. And so then it alters everything else. And so it probably just like put your brain in a different protocol rather than like where you normally sit. So I wonder if it's something like that. That's not the truth. I'm just, this is an assumption. Everything is a wonder. This is a discussion. Yes.
But also like another thing, since we're talking about relationships too, that you've really taught me is I feel like you've taught me like really quality friendships and that I like deserve just good friends and like what I want in relationships. I feel like you've really helped me like just feel okay and like I deserve this, like whatever I need, and just like having the courage to express what I need and having those conversations, like you've really helped me navigate that.
Thank you. That's so sweet. Yeah, I think that the people that we claim are the closest to us are the people that we're supposed to be able to have those really hard conversations with. Like, I've hurt the people that I've been really close with, and that feeling sucks, but that's also normal. And the reason why the relationship survived is because they looked me in the face and they said that I hurt them, or vice versa. And then we talked about it. And so if, again, it's uncomfortable, but if that feeling of being uncomfortable to have that conversation is more powerful than the value of the relationship, then maybe it's a relationship worth letting go. Because if the people you claim that are closest to you aren't willing to hear hard things about themselves or about you, then like those are not your people. You know, I've shared like gruesomely deep, painful things to the people I loved, and it's been greeted with like a nod and like, wow, you know, they're not scared of that. And so that's so important. And that's hard to find people like that. Like I said, I truly, like, if there's one thing I will say, I'm so blessed with the friends that I have. I know that a lot of people are not as lucky as I am in that capacity, and I will never take that for granted. But even if I was to make a new friend, like anybody making a new friend, it's just like, if you can't have the hard conversations, if you can't be your worst self in front of this person, like, this person is not for you. The things that are meant for you will not pass you. Doesn't mean you don't do the work, but it means that if someone is meant to be in your life, they will be in your life in all versions. You cannot force someone to stay by attempting to be less, you know? So that's like my biggest thing, where it's like, well, you're feeling that way, and say it with your chest. I said what I said, and I said it with my chest. I say that all the time. So yeah, that's the energy. I just want you to feel that way for yourself and for others, because again, then they get to see that in you as well. And they should find that valuable.
And when I was like going to you and going to you about this, and I remember sharing with you about like wanting to have these difficult conversations, and finally doing it really taught me how when you have the courage to like have that space to have the hard conversations, I feel like it really connects you with the other person more. And like when that person is open to receiving that conversation and is open to hearing what you have to say, it really does like connect you guys and bring you closer. And I also feel like it opens the door for them to also have a hard conversation if they need to. I just feel like it just helps you deepen the relationship, knowing that you can have these hard conversations too. Yeah. And I feel like my friendships and just like my relationships that I build now are so important to me, because growing up, like my family, I'm not like close with my family. So I feel like my friends and people that I meet now, it's like my close friends. They're like my chosen family. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like you could probably relate to that too. To where your friends are like your family. Yeah.
And that's why it's important to do the work and make sure that if I'm choosing to have this person in my life and I'm still feeling some type of way, absolutely not. No. Why would I choose that? So yeah, you need to go out of your way to have those hard conversations with people, and the ones that are meant to be there will be there, period.
And then, okay, another deep one that I wanted to talk about, and I don't know if you still wanted to talk about this, so we can cut this out. Okay, so I know in our previous conversation at the coffee shop, you opened up to me and shared with me about your sister's drug addiction and how like growing up with that did kind of affect you in some way. So I guess like, what was that like, or how did you feel like that affected you?
Yeah, I would say, earlier I mentioned in the podcast that like I've been very strategic with my words and experiences. And so, yes, this is something that I did open up about. And I did discuss this with her as well, making sure she was comfortable with me sharing it. And so I won't go too deep into sharing her experience. But what I will say is that it was extremely, extremely difficult. So yes, I would say in my little sister's late teens, she did also experience a lot of the same things as me, which is like emotional needs not being met. So I have,
how she coped with
yes. So I have 4 siblings, like I said. And my 2 older siblings definitely experienced a different set of parents and a different life than me and my little sister. And my little sister and I are very connected in the sense of we're both very emotion based. And there was a 4.5 and 6.5, 8-year age gap between us. So, when we were younger, the four of us grew up together, but then like the majority of my childhood, what I remember as I'm like really growing up in those adolescent years, it was just my little sister. And so as she began to get into that, and me not necessarily understanding the severity of that, because also just being young and naive to understanding it, I think it just kind of like got out of hand. And then it kind of just broke us apart in a really big way, like the whole family. It was definitely a huge thing when we all realized. And I think that what that gave me is a really, really different perspective on people who struggle with addiction.
Yeah.
And I think that that's another really big skill that I have when I look at therapy.
Yeah.
So the experience was very, very difficult. Witnessing somebody that you love go through something like that, I mean, is so hard. And I would also say, we've talked about it a little bit, but I think that and this is actually, if my little sister listens to this, first of all, I love you, but I've actually never even said this to her. So this would be the first time that she's heard it. But I think that I've actually never really asked any questions, because I feel like that was her experience and I couldn't imagine what she went through. And I feel like if the opportunity presents itself, I'm always open to hear those things. But I think both of us have kind of just like accepted, like, that was a part of life we want to move from. So she's since clean. As I think when she was like 20, maybe 21 years old, she's wonderful. She just turned 30 and she's such an amazing human being. I mean, living just this beautiful life. And I couldn't be more proud of her. She's so amazing. But you do obviously experience just like a deep level of different type of sadness when you witness something like that and then feel like, should I have done something? I think the feeling that still sits with me and will always sit with me for the rest of my life, and I'm just going to have to welcome this feeling, is just like, I wish I could have done more. Right. And I don't blame myself. The healed part of me tells me it is not my fault, because I also was very young and I didn't know what to do either. And again, we didn't have the opportunity to like have this conversation with other people to like problem solve. Yeah. I think we all just kind of like pretended like everything was fine. And even after the fact, we did the exact same thing. That was always the solution. Just like, we're good to go. We don't need anything. Like, we're good. Yeah. But then as an adult, I'm like, damn, I would have done so many things differently. So many things differently. I mean, it's a feeling that I'm going to have to deal with for the rest of my life, even with her like happy and healthy and everything. Like it's a very painful feeling to think about that time in our life, in my life. And if I wanted to, I could let myself cry right now. But
sounds like maybe after this, we'll both have a
maybe we'll
cry
both
sesh.
maybe we'll both have a cry sesh. Yeah, but I think that what I find really valuable now is just like, I'd like to believe like I try my hardest to be the absolute best sister I could be now. Yeah. And that does not mean I'm perfect. And there are definitely moments where I find myself like frustrated with her, because you're a human being. And then I'll tell myself, oh my gosh, how could you be frustrated with someone you weren't there for them when she was 16 years old? Like, you need to do that now. You're not allowed to feel frustrated ever. And so I do I battle with those feelings sometimes. So like recently I got upset with her about something. And then I was so mad at myself and I cried like all day. And I texted her and was like, I'm being a really bad sister right now. And I'm really sorry. I shouldn't have said that, blah. And she's so cool about it. And she was just like, no, I get it. You're right. It's totally fine. Nope. I love you. Don't be upset. Like, she's good to go. But I think that's just a me feeling. That's something that I'm going to have to sit with forever. And I don't let it control me. Like I said, I don't ever tell myself that things are my fault and I should have known better. I should have done this. I should have done this. Like, I was just a human. I was also just like 16, 17 years old, like trying to figure out how to be a human by myself. But yeah, that was a really big building block of my life. And what I do now with that experience is bring it into my work. Like I said, I bring that knowledge to children, to adults, to anybody who's willing to listen. Like, you can look at me across the room and think that you know what I have been through, but let me tell you, you are wrong. And I get it. 9 times out of 10, whatever you're sharing with me, I get it on a deep personal level, not just because I'm connecting with you. And that's really what I want people to know. Like, nothing is too crazy for me to hear, because like, you have there's like a little note I have on a picture of the three of us, and it says, you have no idea, or it was like, you have no idea the pain we've had to experience to become so gentle. And I have it like stuck to a picture of the three of us. And so it's like, you have no idea the battle that other people are battling. So be kind.
That's beautiful. And I feel like you have such a gentle energy too. Every time I'm with you, I just feel like I can just talk to you, and like, you just naturally have a very gentle, safe energy.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. That's all I want to be. I'm also very chaotic.
Same.
But it's a gentle chaos. You know what I mean? Like, it's a wave, but it's a gentle wave.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
So now I feel like let's talk about some lighter stuff.
Let's do
fun, happy, like our self-love session we did recently.
Oh my gosh, let's talk.
Yeah. So the self-love session, you guys. Oh my gosh, that was such an incredible day. I felt like I was in like my like dream, you know, and I just felt like it was so fun. I had such an incredible experience, and I want to hear it like from your end, like what it was like experiencing that.
Well, I remember it was it was on a Sunday, and it was at the end of a week that I was moving into my new apartment. So it was like this big thing I was so excited for, but it was like piled at the end of the most stressful 6 days. And so I was really nervous going into it, simply because like I knew it was going to be a very emotional big day, in good and, bad ways.
Yeah.
And so I was really nervous. I was nervous coming in. Like, I wanted to make sure that I was providing the right energy. And just like the second I got there, I was like, why was I even worried? Because it was absolutely amazing. Once again, Cindy, extremely thoughtful. The way that you had everything set out, me as a planner and someone who like lists and everything, the way that you just like set up the schedule, everyone's names, pictures next to the names, all of those things are just kind of like little aesthetic details, but I don't think you realize it's so valuable, especially for somebody coming in and never knowing anybody. So I loved having the opportunity to see everybody's pictures and connect it with a name beforehand, so I could kind of get a good idea of like who I would be spending my time with, like just kind of like that safety space. You provided a lot of safety within that. And so that was very, very valuable from you. And it was just fun. I mean, you had food, you were thoughtful in your food choices because I'm a celiac, and just everybody there was so kind. And I love just kind of feeling like fancy. Someone's doing my makeup, and someone has a rack of clothes, and I get to look at the pieces and the set design being so intricate and thoughtful. And it's like for me. And I was like, oh, this is like for me. It just like felt like in my dream, I've always known that I'm dramatic and I like to be a star. And in this moment, I was like, wait a moment.
Like, I'm actually living my dream right now.
I'm actually a star. And I was like, ooh, it felt really, really cool. I loved all of the outfits. I loved the energy. I liked the set. I liked that we were like in Kansas City, and I know it was like getting dark, so we couldn't see like outside, for the majority of it, but just like the whole energy of the space was so cool. Everyone was so nice. And I've only seen 2 pictures, obviously, but I'm so excited, nervous, but like hopeful that the story comes across in the photos. And I couldn't be more excited to see them. It's like all I think about. I think about it at least once a day. Truly, at one point or another, every day, I'm like, I wonder what that photo looked like. Or, I hope my toes were up the way that I thought they were up. Or I'm like I'm literally every day I'm thinking about one thing or another that has to do with that day until I see them. I simply will not rest.
I know you haven't had a chance to see the photos yet. I'm not done with them, but I told you I sorted through them. So I've made like good progress, but yeah, no, they're looking good. I'm really, really excited for you to see them. And I'm so glad that you had such a good experience. And I love seeing like just how excited you look when you were like talking about it, because that's like how I felt about the day too. Like feel like I just feel like I was doing what I was meant to do, you know? But anyway, I feel like though, like with the self-love session and also like with you walking in Kansas City Fashion Week, like
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
Oh, I guess. I think
Superstar.
I think I was free that night. I might have been somewhere.
But yeah, like I just feel like all of it like happened around the same time.
Yeah.
And then with you moving to like into a new place with your boyfriend, it just seems like there's a lot of big things happening in your life.
Yeah. All while working with 12-year-olds all day.
Yeah. So it sounds to me like you're leveling up and you're transitioning in your life.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like a lot of things have happened for you.
But listen, a lot of that, I cut you off a little bit because listen, a lot of that is because of you. You need to know credit where credit is due. Okay. I would never have felt brave enough to get up there and audition if I didn't see you do it and I didn't feel like it was possible and feel your encouragement. And you like going with me, you've been answering all of my questions all throughout the process. And that's been so amazing. I mean, you did that. Like, yes, I was there, but you did that. The community of having you is why I felt brave enough to do that. And so yeah, I couldn't, once again, the utmost respect for you as a human being. So everyone golf clap for Cindy. I was wearing assless chaps because of her. You are welcome. Okay.
Yes. So,
and now here I am doing another amazing thing once again because of you.
On a podcast.
Seriously.
Here's to more things. Yeah. But so how was it like walking in Kansas City Fashion Week and being on that runway?
It felt like I blacked out. It felt so cool. It felt like it's exactly where I wanted to be. But also I was like, did that happen? Like it was just, it's really scary. It's like, oof, I wish I was present, but like you're so filtered in the moment.
Yeah,
I wish
just happens.
Yes. Yeah. I wish I could have like gotten to experience it a little more, but that's okay. I'm not
on the runway just looking on the crowd.
Just like cheesing, just big old grin, like, hi guys.
You're all here for me.
Yes, thank you, thank you. So it was very, very cool. I mean, super surreal. I've always known my whole life since a young age, I love all things the arts, like theater. I love singing. I love acting, plays, musicals. I've always loved getting a photo taken. Like I've never had a professional photo taken other than when I was in Paris and I had a photo shoot with April and her husband when we went there. But other than that, I've never like professionally seeked anything out, but I've always known that I've loved it all. And it felt cool to just get to do one of those things. And it felt right. I felt like I was in the right place. I felt like I had no idea what was going on. Like it's clearly its own little organism. And I was just like this new foreign body in the organism.
That's a good way to put it.
I was really just trying to like soak it in. I couldn't really participate in a lot of conversations that have to do with that world because I know literally nothing. But I just was happy to be included, and you get up there and you're on like that top step and that hand is on your arm. And the moment they let you go, it's your turn. Like you go and you're standing there and I've never from fear felt like I wanted to throw up before. And I did. I truly almost vomited in that moment. And I'm not even exaggerating. I've never felt that like visceral feeling of like churning to the throat. And so it's really funny. My friend Maddie where she was sitting, she was at such an angle that she could see me backstage. And so she ironically took a quick little shot of me standing backstage right before I come on stage. And in the photo, I'm just standing there and my eyes are closed. And it's because I'm fighting for my life. It's because I'm centering myself. And so I kind of just like in that moment, I'm feeling that way. And I just took a deep breath and I was just like, if we throw up on this runway, it will be very memorable one way or another. So we're just going to rock it. And they take their hand off your arm and it's your turn. And thankfully that did not happen. And you just kind of like black out. You're like half conscious. It's like you can only see out of one eye and it's exhilarating. And I definitely could critique myself on a lot of things that I could have done differently. Yeah. Hindsight's always 2020, but I felt like I rocked it.
You rocked it.
And I felt really confident. I felt good at my outfit. I feel like I got so lucky with my outfit. And I feel like that really like pumped me up. And yeah, you go backstage and you're just like,
you literally feel like you want to scream.
Yeah. I remember, nobody can see this, it's like a visual gag, but I remember just like my hands like were shaking in the air and I was like, and yeah, then you like get back in line because you're like, focus, got to do the carousel next, you know? But yeah, you're just like, I did that. And it's just such a surreal feeling and it was so much fun. And the day after, I cried. I cried the whole day, Cindy. The day after, yes. And I had to work that day. And I had we go to Fashion Week. You know, I stay late because I want to milk it and really experience it all. So I don't go to bed until really late. I got to get up and I have a 3-hour training that next morning. And I remember sitting in the training. I'm in the front row too because I showed up a little late. I'm in the front row and I'm literally like crying. I'm just like silently crying in this training, just sitting there thinking about what a cool experience I got to be a part of and just being so grateful. And then I went to lunch with a couple of my coworkers and we got to talk about it and they came to come see me. Shout out to my team at work. And I'm crying while talking to them about it. Like I truly just like, I cried the whole day, got into bed, still crying, thinking about it. Just so grateful. I mean, I would love to do it again, but like at the end of the day, like what a beautiful opportunity. And it just was so freaking cool to feel like the superstar that I know that I am. and I'm just like, people just need to recognize that I'm not dramatic. Like I am meant for this lifestyle. Okay. And so I felt like that was it. That was like my moment. Yeah. And so even if that is all I ever experienced, like I'm good. That's all I ever needed.
I highly doubt that will be the last. I really highly doubt it. Do you plan on auditioning more?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I will.
She's hooked. She's hooked, y'all.
I just feel like my trauma response is like, it was such a great experience. Nothing can beat that. And so a part of me is like, quit while you're ahead. And so I think a part of me has grappled with it because I'm like, there's no way it could be as good as it was, you know? And so I definitely can like acknowledge I am experiencing that feeling even still now, but we push past it and we're still gonna go and we're gonna try and just kind of like stay in tune with myself through every step of the way and make sure that it still feels like that in the moment that it stops feeling like that. Then I won't do it anymore. Yeah. You know? Yeah. So yeah, maybe we are hooked. Stay tuned. Stay tuned for fall season. We will see.
And not only did you walk in Casey Fashion Week, you also, a week after, got to walk in.
Oh my gosh. Too. Yeah.
So you've now walked in 2 fashion shows and you have a podcast. You've done like a whole professional photo shoot with a whole creative team. You've done a lot now. Yeah,
you know,
and the year's just getting started still.
My world is just coming into fruition. You know what I mean? Slowly but surely. I remember this was years ago, but I remember I was talking to my mother and my little sister about doing something, like signing up for something new, or like reviewing gym clothes, or like it was like something random like that. I was talking about I wanted to start something new. And I remember my mother saying to me, Amanda, you are doing too many big things. You're going to intimidate everybody. And people aren't going to want to talk to you. You know, I was single at the time too. People aren't going to want to talk to you and try to be with you. And I remember looking at my mother and saying, Mother, I am trying to build an empire, not a sandcastle. Like, no.
Yes. Big facts.
Like, I'm going to do whatever. Like, if somebody wants to feel intimidated, that's a you problem. That's not a me problem.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm, like I said, I think I've never imagined a world like this to be the world that I live in. And so I always keep myself very like excited, but like kind of like within arm's reach of the excitement of it all. But it feels very surreal. You know, like again, that like trauma response of being like excited to do something, but like don't get too excited too quickly, like manage the feeling. Like this is a lot. Like when you asked me to be on the podcast, I feel like I remember my response just kind of being like, yes, I would love to. And like that was it. And it was because in my body, I was like, danger, danger. No, what? There's no way this could be true. And so I remember after the fact, I'm like, man, I hope that she thought that I was like grateful and excited, because my response was so neutral. And that's very common for me when I hear something exciting, that I just naturally go into freeze. I'm a freezer. And the fight, flight, or freeze response, I am a freezer like you've never seen a deer in your life. Just like absolutely frozen. And so I feel like that's what I did in that moment. And that's kind of like the way I'm like living my life through this really cool new adventure, is that like I'm present, but I'm present like a really slow deer, like moving through the forest, like making sure everything is like safe as I'm taking my next step. That's kind of how I feel right now.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I think you were excited when I told you about it, but definitely not like as excited as I thought.
Yeah.
And then you texted me.
And I hate that for you, and I'm sorry.
It's okay. You texted me afterwards, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
But I feel like I get what you're saying. That I feel like I'm like that too. Sometimes when I'm really excited about something or an opportunity, I like act super chill about it, because I'm like, I feel like if I'm too excited, it's almost gonna scare.
It's like cool. Yeah,
but on the inside,
I guess I'm free. Like we can make it happen.
And I'm like, yeah, this is like a normal everyday thing. Yeah, just call my assistant.
But in my head, it was like the Lizzie McGuire movie, this is what dreams are made of. Like that's how I was feeling, but I was like, cannot show emotion. We are unsafe. And so I feel like it's unfortunate. I still experience things, but I'm very much like an after the fact. Like I'll always acknowledge after the fact. I'm very big on reflection, and I go back and I make sure that how I'm feeling is still communicated properly, even if in the moment I did not express what I know I was trying to. So that was why I sent that text. So I was like, thank God.
No, I'm glad you did. And here we are.
Yeah.
Okay. So now wrapping up we're pretty much towards the end of the podcast now. We've been talking about for 2 hours.
Oh my gosh, I know. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I knew we could be here and talk all day.
I know.
But it's okay. There's so many more episodes that we can do in the future. So now my ending questions, I guess, just like how you feel like your year's been going so far, or like, and how you feel like the rest of the year is going to go for you.
Well, I'll take a page out of your last episode, because I listened to your last episode and you were talking about the words you were using to describe each month so far, which I thought was very cool. And at the end of the podcast, you asked the question to the people, like what they felt like the word was for their month. I pay attention, y'all. And I feel like I was really, really thinking about it. And I was like, I think the word I would use to describe the last 3 months, I'll just say like, quarterly, like the last 3 months, would be just like movement was the word that I was thinking of, because so much has been going on. I've been so busy in many beautiful ways, but change is still change. And I'm very bad at that. I white knuckle grip patterns. And so when things change, I mean, it feels like a criminal offense on my psyche. And so I've experienced so much movement these past 3 months, but I also just feel really grateful for that opportunity. I can really feel myself changing as a person.
Yeah.
And obviously my living situation being such a big change for me, I can just vision the rest of the year truly like becoming a new version of myself. And I'm scared for that because I like me like this.
Yeah.
But you realize very quickly that, like, there are things that we need to fix about ourselves, even though we feel like our systems work. There's always room for change. And that is a very big thing that I am grappling with right now. And so I'm really excited for this year. I'm really excited for what this new life will look like for me and how I will pick and choose parts of my old life to bring with me and what parts I choose to leave. I'm really curious what that will look like for me. And I don't know. It really will be those in the moment moments where you realize, oh, I've let go of that. Or, oh, this now matters to me and it never did before. So I have opened myself to the adventure of figuring out who this new version of myself will be. And I would say this year so far has just been like chaotic. I'm excited for some calmness though. Something about me, unlike you, is I like calmness and I don't usually keep myself super crazy busy. And since I have been, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I just want to like sit on the couch for like 2 whole days and do nothing. And that will be perfect. Like that for me is very valuable and fills my cup. So I'm just ready for more opportunities to do that. I just haven't had a lot of opportunities. I'm still grateful to do things. I know I need to do things, but gosh, I love being at home. I love just wearing the same shirt for 6 days in a row and nobody judging me for it. And I'm excited to have more pockets of that since I haven't experienced a lot of that recently.
I agree. And just the other night I was thinking about how just like before I started my business and everything, I remember just thinking about going out with friends to just like go to a bar to drink and just like talk and do nothing and just vibe. And I feel like I used to do that a lot and I don't ever do that now anymore.
Yeah.
But for some reason I was like, I'm like, wow, the fact that we would just go to a bar and just chill. And I don't know, just the idea of that feels so foreign to me now.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, maybe I need to do that.
I was just about to say, we should make a celebrity appearance every now and then. You know what I mean? We flex the muscle. It's still valuable.
Not the celebrity appearance.
Yeah, celebrity appearance. I grace you with my presence. It's a loud room, and I'm going to complain about that now that I'm in my 30s. But you're welcome. I'm wearing pants. And appreciate me. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I feel like it's not something we do as common anymore, but like, I respect a celebrity appearance. I hate that we didn't get to do that after our second fashion show. I really did not feel well. That was not a good environment for me. I'm out there and I put on my best show, but let me tell you, I was fighting for my life. I was very unwell. It was too overstimulating, too small back there, too hot. And that was nobody's fault. That's not me saying anything about the event. That is a me thing that I now have to deal with. I've noticed I can be very overstimulated very quickly now. It's very annoying. So yeah, we need to make that opportunity, me and you.
I also feel like the more healed you are, or just the more aware you are, I feel like the more sensitive you are.
Yes. I remember you saying that, where it's like the more self-aware you are of yourself, it kind of like ruins some experiences for you because you're way too present.
Yes. So to where it's like, I get what you mean. Like just being overstimulated. I'm so much more aware of that now. Whereas I feel like in the past, just because I wasn't aware, so I didn't know that I was overstimulated.
Yeah.
But I probably still was, But your year sounds beautiful, and I love movement for you. I definitely feel like what I said earlier already just sounds to me like you are like transitioning into this other part of your life. And yeah, and I feel like there's a lot of beautiful things ahead, but it's also when you're transitioning and change is hard, that it is there is going to be the hard parts where you're going to have to grieve.
Yeah.
And say like,
good use of the word grief.
Yeah, grief. Like I've learned because I feel like I'm just someone who is constantly evolving and growing, that I've really had to learn to grieve like an older version of me as I like shed those layers and become a new version. And grieving is such like an essential part of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Grief is part of that pain that waits for you when you're trying to avoid it. And so that's just such a perfect use of the word. But I do want to say, we were having a conversation at that second fashion show, and I've been thinking about it over the past couple weeks, and I'm going to attempt or try to actually pick up something that you mentioned. So again, in a lot of ways, we're kind of opposites with how we spend our time. Like I said, I enjoy spending a lot of time doing nothing, and you naturally keep yourself very busy in different ways. And so we were having a conversation about like me getting back into dance and different things like that and wanting to try new things. And it's slightly smaller, but I was like thinking to myself, I'm off all summer, which is a beautiful luxury that I have. And I thought to myself, okay, how can I like stay true to having the time to myself? Because I do enjoy that schedule, but also like put myself out there. And what I think I'm going to try to do is once a week, like maybe every Monday, still keep it structured. Like on Mondays, Monday will be like an adventure day / try something new day. So even if like all I do is just like go to a new coffee shop or like purposely like go for a walk at English Landing Park or purposely go like try some food, like every Monday I want to make a point to get out of the house to do some type of activity with myself, whether that be taking a dance class or, you know, all those other things I named. So I'm still having time to myself. It's not like taking over the whole day and my whole schedule, but it's also giving me the opportunity to use this beautiful luxury that I have, which is 3 months off. What a luxury, and doing something and experiencing something with it. And I picked that up because of you. I take what people say seriously. I go home and I reflect on everything I've heard every single day. It's an exhausting process, but I do it because it's important work. And I really thought about that. And I was like, what she's saying makes so much sense. And how can I honor myself, but also challenge myself? And so you did that for me. So I'm going to try to do that. So maybe like if we're both free on Mondays or something, we can make that work every now and then. So have that in the books. This is something I'm trying.
I love that. Thanks for sharing.
Of course.
So that actually kind of sounds like how I plan on my monthly calendar. So I actually like at the beginning of the year, I like set my goals and intentions. And I was like, okay, now how am I going to make that happen? So I actually wrote out a list of things that I want to do each month. So now when I curate my calendar, I make sure I'm like referring to that list that I'm doing it. So like, for example, I've been doing like each month I want to do one nature run.
Ooh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So then I put like nature run. And then another one was I want to do like a work coffee date with like a friend or someone. So it's like I have all these. And then another one's like host dinner night, game night.
Cute.
So then each like month I like kind of refer, you know, as I'm making my weekly schedules and stuff. I'm like, okay, what can I fit in? Make sure I'm like getting that stuff done. But yeah,
I love that.
Like, reminds me of what I've been doing. But yeah,
that's a good way to set it up though, because it's like you're making a yearly bucket list. For yourself.
And I'm like making it happen each month. So, and like it's okay if like not every month I get to everything. What I do is like I like will like highlight it in red, and then next month I'm like, okay, let's try and do this next month.
It's accountability.
Yeah. Okay, so now some final ending questions. What's the biggest lesson that you've had to learn from life? Or just like, sometimes I feel like the biggest lesson tends to be a lesson that is reoccurring for us, that might show up in different places or areas in our lives. So what would that be for you?
I would say the biggest lesson I've had in my life that is reoccurring and is also one that I constantly give others is that you cannot control others. You can only control yourself.
Such a good one.
And within that, you don't have to let other people's actions define what you're doing. Like if someone's getting, rude and disrespectful with you and, people think like your reaction is like to get angry back. It's like, no, it's your place to control that response and be better than that. And so That's hard. It's hard being the bigger person all the time. It is. It's hard having to like keep yourself in check when other people are not doing that work.
Yeah.
But like that is life, because like your reaction can become this bigger thing, and it's not worth it at the end of the day. But God, that is hard.
I feel like really learning that is like learning what you can control, and then like, and what you can't, really frees you too. Like it frees you from worrying about so much
and trying to control them.
Yeah.
And like trying to force them to get it. So you're right. Like it lets go of your idea of your responsibility to fix them.
Yeah, like I feel like it's helped me so much. I'm like, well, I'm doing what my values are and showing up as who I am, and that's all I can control. So yeah, that's a great lesson. I love that. What is one thing you would tell your younger self?
I think I would tell her that her existence is not a burden to anybody. Yeah. There's nothing inconvenient about who you are and what you need, and learn to ask for it sooner. Yeah. I think that's what I would tell her. I think one of my big core beliefs was that I am a burden. And so within being a burden becomes turning yourself into somebody different, being a people pleaser, being what other people want you to be, forcing, people to like you, and the things you have to do in order to get people to like you, and all of that I experienced in, many stages of life in different ways. And so I think I just would have let her know that like, you're good. Just like this. People like you for being loud. People don't think that you talk too much, and people do think that you're funny, and people do like you, and you're good. You're good just like this. Yeah, that's beautiful. That was definitely one of my core beliefs too. Burden. It's so hard. Yeah. And I think that also stems from a core belief of being a burden and not wanting to burden other people. Yeah. So I just tend to try and figure it out, So, yeah. It's other people's jobs to be burdened by your feelings. That's what friends are for. Like I'm not going to be able to remember it correctly, but it's like if you suffer from something by yourself and you don't share it, like you suffer twice. But if you share something really hard with a friend, then you each suffer half because you're sharing it. And so burden other people. Yeah. And honestly, I love when people come to me. Yeah. Like being able to be there for a friend. It's such a fulfilling thing. And so give the people the opportunity to feel that too. Hopefully if they do it right. Not everybody's perfect and not everybody responds the way that you want. We say all of this very much knowing that other people are entitled to unfortunately not handle situations properly. And I'm so sorry when those things happen to people and when they've happened to us, but it should never stop us from trying. I mean, all the pain I've ever experienced has never stopped me from trying to find joy and trying to be happy and putting myself back out there. It's truly never gotten in the way of me getting back up, but it's obviously just made the experience like painful as I carry it. So I just feel like they're different things. I feel like we need to keep in mind like those two things are very different. Okay, so now my last question to you. I feel like you know this. You think I do? And did I prepare? Actually, no. You got this. Off the dome. You got this. What does self-love mean to you? Self-love means radical acceptance. In whatever that means. It doesn't mean that you're perfect. It doesn't mean that you can't call yourself out from the behaviors that maybe you struggle with, but it's the fact that you know them and you understand them and you love them all the same. Yeah. Accepting something and loving something are two very different things. You don't have to love everything about you. Personally, in my opinion, this can be a hot take. I think when people said that you need to love yourself and love everything about yourself, again, it kind of can like set you up for failure in a way, in my opinion. Like I said, this is a hot take. But I think that accepting all of these things about you, even the things that you don't necessarily love about you, I think that is so valuable. I think that you can know something's maybe not exactly the way that you want it to be, but still be like, yeah, but that makes up me. And that's okay. So I'm not going to force myself to love all the little things that maybe I don't love within myself, but nor within that does that take away my worth and my love for me as a human being, as a whole, and as a unit. So that radical acceptance of like, are things how we want them to be? Nope. But are they as close as they can get? Yup. And am I cool with that? Yup. Let's go.
Yeah.
That to me is self-love.
Yeah. That was so good.
Woo! I did it. I'm not
told
gonna
you.
lie. After you asked me, I had a little pause and it did come back to me. So I did remember what I wanted to say to that.
Well, thank you. That was a beautiful way to end our conversation today.
Thank you so much. This has been so exciting. Just everything about it. So exciting.
Well, thank you for coming on the podcast and for spending your Saturday night with me.
Perfect Saturday night. I could not have done anything else that would come close to this. So thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so before we leave, will you just like drop your Instagram handle and TikTok?
Yes. It's so funny because I have one of my TikToks. It's almost at 1 million views. How crazy. I'm famous. But my Instagram is Amanda Piña 24. Pina is spelled Pina. I would assume that you'll know that. You'll see it in writing everywhere, but I need to share it because everybody spells it wrong. And my TikTok is Amanda Pina. So it's Amanda with an extra A and then Pina with an extra A at the end.
Lots of vowels.
I'm going to double check that really quick.
It's okay. I'll put it in the show notes too. So if people want to go follow you, connect with you, that way they can just go to the show notes.
Yeah, I was right though.
Okay.
That's what it is.
Okay.
So yes, follow me. You'll learn all about mental health and just random things that I choose to add.
I could be biased because I'm your friend, but I love your stories. I feel like they're so real and funny. Amanda's hilarious.
Oh my gosh.
You crack me up. Like whenever I look at your stories, I'm just laughing. Or they're just like super relatable.
Humor is one of my favorite things. I thought I was going to be a famous comedian one day. That's another thing that I wanted to do, like be a comedian, because I would also like to believe that I am very funny. So when I hear other people say that, I eat that shit up. So thank you for saying that. You have filled my ego for the evening. I will sleep on a cloud tonight.
Well, on that note,
self-love model out.
Self-love model out, y'all.
Is your